Hey guys, it's just Mike and Nicole here, and we're very excited to be able to talk with you on this weekend about something that we feel is going to be a very prevalent thing. And we're thinking about all the stuff that's going on. I know, I'm going to say it, COVID.
If I hear COVID one more time, I'm gonna throw up.
I'm going to throw up!
Moana for all you
Yeah, we
people out there.
we've seen Moana too many times as parents. But one thing that we really felt was necessary was to talk about going back to normal. Yeah, what's that going to look like? Funny thing that we thought of yesterday, actually, when we were doing youth, was what are you going to do when you're not going to be able to talk under your breath and people will be able to see what you're saying about them
Right.
when you're at the grocery store? Like, I would even say, oh, get this person out of my way. And you're just kind of mouthing it like, move it along, Granny.
I've never done that.
You've never done, you don't,
I tend to then just have more of RBF, but
oh, okay, yes. I'm glad that this
if you'd like to know what that stands
No.
for, DM me.
DM, yes. But it is kind of interesting because all of these different new things that
Yeah.
have become new normal to us, wearing masks, going to the grocery store, staying 6 feet apart, working from home, as we approach vaccination,
Yeah.
some people that we've even talked to have said that right at the end of the year, we're going to be almost back to normal. That
Yeah.
would be a healthcare professional friend of
What
ours.
is normal?
What
though?
is, and that's the question. What is normal? What's the new normal going to look like? And that can make us anxious.
Yeah.
And when we think about anxiety, in some cases, a little bit of anxiety can be a very good thing.
Yeah.
You're
Good motivator.
a good motivator to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can even be anxious about going somewhere that I really love
Mm-hmm.
and value, or meeting up with somebody.
Right.
Maybe it's somebody that you're wanting to date. You get a little anxious
Right.
when
Someone
you're
you don't
around
want to
them.
stay 6 feet apart from.
Yeah, exactly. You wanna be up in their grill and their
Ugh.
person, all that kind of stuff. We're married. We can do that.
Wow.
So
That is not what we are here
that's
to
not what
talk
we're here to talk about, but we're here to talk about some of these different things. The Bible tells us that we're to not be anxious about anything, but we're to actually pray about everything. And talk to me. I know your story. You would be somebody who would be very prone to anxiety,
Yes.
things. How? First of all, where does that come from? Second of all, how do you cope with that?
Ooh, that is loaded. So anxiety from kind of investigating my own life, kind of reflecting, not investigating. English.
It is a difficult,
Right?
hardest language in the world.
Yeah, this last year I've really reflected on my own life and anxiety, and I've actually had less anxiety, ironically, in this time, where the feeling of wanting to throw up stopped when we were put in the first lockdown. So again, more reflection happened, and from a very young age, like even younger than maybe even between Nora and Judah's age, so somewhere around 3, I've always kind of been like this, where my stomach would get upset and I'd complain, like, call the ambulance and I need to go to the hospital, when really it was like, sweetie, I think you just like need to go use the washroom. But it freaked me out, and I guess, and because I didn't feel validated in those feelings then, anytime my stomach would get upset, it would trigger me, and something's wrong, and I'm unsettled, and I don't know what's happening. And then from later on in life, from like age 6 to 15, I'm traveling on the road with my parents. For those of you who don't know, we were kind of like traveling evangelists. We put on a production. People would get evangelism. People would get saved from these productions. And so for 8 years, almost 9 years of my life, I knew what was coming every single day, almost of every hour of every day, which it sounds terrible, but it was then a part of it. Just, I adapted to it so much that when we stopped doing that, it kind of spiraled, and then I just became a very anxious person. So, but again, all the triggers is basically my stomach. If I don't feel good, it's like, it's over. So, during this time of like unknown, because we didn't have anywhere to go, nothing to do, no one to see, I was like, ooh, what is this peace? So as we've been talking about, okay, when we get vaccinated and, life goes, we have more freedom. I hate the term going back to normal. No, we just adapted this last year. We've adapted to what we've had to adapt to.
Right.
So when we are given more freedom, like, that kind of freaks me out a little. Not a lot. Like, I'm really excited to be able to see more people. I'm excited to not have to wear a mask anymore. I'm excited for those things. But yeah, there's just things that I'm like, ooh, I do not care to go back to that life. So.
And thinking about, even with young adults and stuff like that, what we've been doing, I think what's interesting about all of it is that this has become kind of normal. How are we going to respond to other people in person?
Yeah.
Like again, we were talking about the joke of under your mask.
Right.
Are you going to? This student said, people won't be able to mouth swearing under their mask anymore.
Like when you're at work and you really don't want to do this task or something.
Yeah, and that was the context too. When you're at work, and it was this TikTok that she saw.
Okay.
And it kind of shattered her glass. Oh, I won't be able to do that anymore. I'm gonna have to fix my face.
Right.
And that's the reality too, where it's just kind of like all of these things that have socially kind of gone to the wayside. If we were to be honest, we would say that social pleasantries,
right.
Of starting conversations, smiling even.
Yeah.
Smiling even. All of those things are going to have to come back into play. And here's the stressful thing to think about. I'm not prepared for this. If let's say that, just for the heck of it,
right.
I said that I mouthed something that was maybe inappropriate out of frustration at my job, the church,
right.
That would be bad.
Right.
And, because I was frustrated with the person, and then that person calls me on it, I wouldn't even have the social skills necessarily to be able to talk myself out of it, because I haven't done that in over a year.
Right.
So that all of those things, okay, what if they want me to come back in the office?
Yeah.
Different things like that.
Ugh.
Right? Like, you work from home now. Nicole,
which is awesome.
Nicole used to drive to Burlington, Ontario 5 days a week for her job.
3 hours a day of driving. Do the math. That's a lot of hours in my car.
That's and thinking about.
But I signed up for it.
Yeah, you did.
It wasn't like, oh, now your office is in Burlington. I knew what I was getting into.
Sure.
But it has, like, I always knew I could so do my job from home.
Yeah.
But then during COVID, my boss, my coworker, whatever you want to call him, youth director, moved back to London. So then when we were able to actually have in-person stuff, like we're in the Orange or whatever, and we would actually then, now we meet at Gateway, sometimes Royal View, but we just meet up at coffee shops if we want to have a team meeting. So it has been very nice that I can work from home.
And this is the one thing that in just a few minutes here, we're actually going to go hop on a Zoom call, and we're going to take a half hour of, kind of discussing maybe some things that we're anxious about as we get ready to go back to whatever it would look like at the end of this year. And maybe it is 2022, but, I heard from a few sources now that it is kind of looking like it's going to be at the end of the year if all goes well.
Yeah, like we would have more freedom by Christmas time.
Yeah, more
for
freedom.
Sure. Like, I would hope that by, I don't even know, June, July, that our age group would be able to get vaccinated. Like, that's what they're forecasting.
And these are things that we hope for, but I think that when we start hoping for certain things, even with hope there comes anxious thoughts.
Yes.
And thinking about, some of you that are in our group that are maybe single parents, For those of you that are new parents, even those of you that are single, all of the different questions
Yeah.
of, okay, I've done really well in this season, maybe for some, but I didn't do well with the way things were before.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to go back to that. So as sad as it sounds, maybe there's some people that are even watching right now
Right.
that are like, I'm not pulling to go back to the way things were.
Right.
And I think we've talked about it. We would never want things to go back the way things
No,
were.
we were way too busy.
We were...
And autopilot, and I was, well, I know you were too, but I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
So then I felt like when I saw my kids at the end of the day, I was like, when is it your bedtime? And I'm like, this is really the only time that I see you, other than, get you ready in the morning. And I was just waiting for it to be over. But now when they come home, it's like, okay, yeah, we might still be tired because we do still have jobs.
Yep.
But we have way more energy to actually play and like enjoy family nights, and that's our context. Whatever your context is, like, we're not. I just feel like we're not as exhausted, but it's a different kind of tired.
It's an intentional tired.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we found in our lives, that it seems like if we're tired, it's because we want it to be.
Right.
And that's the difference there, where before, and it had nothing to do with necessarily just church work. It was really to do with the fact that life itself, almost with the way everyone works or worked, was almost planned for you.
Right.
And you just had to, you couldn't operate to the beat of your own drum. You literally were just following the time signature of life.
Right.
And you're just going and going and going and going and going, and you sleep so that you can survive, and you eat so that you can survive. It's like you couldn't enjoy these things. And now we're actually able to be intentional with our thoughts. We're able to be intentional with the things that we buy. We're able to be intentional with our vision casting for church and different things like that, and relationships, and even especially in our prayer life, we're able to be way more intentional with the things that we pray for, because we actually can take the time to think, okay, God, what would you have us to intercede for today? What would you have us to do next?
Right.
And before, it was just kind of like, all right, let's get through the prayer just like you would for your food, and get it over with so that we don't die.
Right.
That kind of thing. So, this is what I want us to break down and talk about now. Is what is something that you are very excited moving forward to the future for,
right.
And then what is something that you're very afraid of, kind of going into the future, and when we go back to more freedom, what's something that you're very afraid of and it gives you a lot of anxiety? And I want to challenge you with this. Even Jesus experienced anxiety.
Yep.
And doing something that he knew that he had to do, and not necessarily something that in himself that he wanted to do because of feeling the pressure. And as we go into Easter, when he asked the Lord, if this cup can pass from me, please let it pass. If there's any other way,
I don't want it.
I don't want to go through this. I know it's ahead of me. I know how terrible it's going to be. I'll still do it because it's for you, God.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do it. And he sweat blood because he was so stressed about that. Think about how anxious that you would be feeling, that you would actually
gave me chills. I don't even want to think about it.
That your pores would actually begin to sweat.
Yeah.
And that is the one who is the author and finisher of our faith. Why that we meet and why we do what we do. He experienced great anxiety for you and for me, and he knows what we're going through. So I want us to talk about some of the things that we're anxious about going into this new season. Maybe it's even you're anxious about going outside, and maybe even not sure about going to Stations of the Cross. I don't know what that would be like, but let's talk about that, and then let's pray about that and seal that together. We know that the answer is prayer and taking it to the Lord in prayer. And tying that in with Jesus, Jesus was anxious. Why do you think he was praying to the Lord?
Right.
Right? He knew that that was the answer. He
Right.
knew that God needed to take that from him. And the best way of doing that was taking it to the Lord in prayer. So let's head to the Zoom call right now. You can just go right in the description, click on that. We're going to be no longer than half an hour. And I'm really looking forward to talking about this with you guys. We'll see you soon.